Good morning everyone and welcome back to our channel. Before we begin, a quick note, this video is also available in a Hindi format, so please check that out as well if you prefer that language format. Today we are going to dive into Ode to the West Wind by Percy Bysshe Shelley, written in the English Romantic era. This poem was written in 1819 near Florence, Italy during a wild autumn storm. Shelley himself said the poem was conceived while he was walking in a forest as the wind whipped around him, and you can literally feel that raw, untamed energy in every line. It's structured in 5 sections, each written in a special form called terza rima, borrowed from Dante, which gives it a rolling chain-like momentum, almost like the wind pushing you from one line to the next without ever letting you settle. Let's break it down section by section. Section 1. Section 1 opens with Shelley directly addressing the west wind as a living, breathing force, the breath of autumn's being. He describes how the wind drives away dead leaves, comparing them to ghosts fleeing an enchanter. These leaves are yellow, black, pale, and hectic red, like a plague-stricken crowd, pestilence-stricken multitudes. This is powerful imagery. Autumn is death, decay, and ending. Then Shelley shifts. The wind also carries seeds to their wintry bed, where they lie like corpses in graves waiting. Waiting for what? For spring, for the wind's azure sister to blow her clarion, her trumpet call, and wake the earth back into color and fragrance. So right in the first section, Shelley sets up the poem's central paradox. The west wind is both a destroyer and a preserver. It kills the old, but in killing it plants the seeds of new life. This is the heartbeat of the entire poem. Section 2 moves upward from the earth to the sky. Now the wind is shaking loose clouds, compared to earth's decaying leaves, from the tangled boughs of a heaven and ocean tree. Shelley calls these clouds angels of rain and lightning. Then comes one of the most striking images in the poem. The storm clouds spread across the sky like the wild streaming hair of a Maenad, one of those frenzied, ecstatic female followers of the god Dionysius in Greek mythology. The sky itself becomes a dirge of the dying year, and the coming night is described as the dome of a massive tomb, vaulted with storm clouds ready to burst with black rain, fire, and hail. Notice how Shelley keeps returning to that refrain, "Oh here," almost like a prayer, a desperate plea for the wind to notice him. Section 3 takes us to the sea. Shelley imagines the Mediterranean Sea, personified as sleeping peacefully near the Bay of Bai in Italy, dreaming of old sunken palaces and towers covered in blue moss and flowers so beautiful that just picturing them makes the senses faint. It's a gorgeous, dreamlike image of stillness and memory. But then the west wind arrives and shatters that peace. Even the Atlantic Ocean's powerful currents split open at the wind's path, and the plant life deep underwater, the sapless foliage of the ocean, recognizes the wind's voice and trembles in fear, stripping itself bare. So across land, sky and sea, Shelley has shown us the wind's total universal power. Nothing escapes it. Section 4. Section 4 is where the poem turns deeply personal. Shelley stops describing the wind from a distance and instead wishes he would become part of it. For a dead leaf thou mightest bear, if I were a swift cloud to fly with thee. He longs for the freedom and power of the wind, though he admits the wind is still more free than he could ever be. He remembers being a boy when it felt possible to keep pace with the sky itself, but now weighed down by a heavy weight of hours, by the disappointments and grief of adult life, he feels chained and bowed down. And then comes that unforgettable aching line, I fall upon the thorns of life, I bleed. This is Shelley at his most vulnerable. A man who once felt wild and free, now feeling trapped by suffering, begging to be lifted like a wave, a leaf, a cloud. The final section is the turning point, the moment of transformation. Shelley asks the wind to make him its lyre, its instrument, just as it plays music through the forest. Even if his own leaves, his ideas, his energy are falling like the forest's autumn leaves, let the wind's mighty harmony draw a deep autumn from him, sweet even in sadness. He begs the wind spirit to become his own spirit, to drive his dead thoughts across the universe like withered leaves, so that from the same death a new birth can spring. He wants his own words through this poem to scatter across humanity like sparks from a fire that never fully goes out. To be, in his own words, that the trumpet of a prophecy for an unawakened world, and the poem ends with its most famous line, if winter comes, can spring be far behind? Now let us talk about the major themes running throughout this poem. The first and most important theme is destruction and rebirth. The west wind destroys, it strips trees bare, it kills the old growth, but that destruction is never final. It's always in service of renewal. Winter always gives way to spring. Death is not the end, it's a stage in a larger cycle. The second theme is the power of nature versus the fragility of man. Throughout the poem, the wind is shown as an unstoppable, almost godlike force across land, sea, and sky, while Shelley, the human speaker, is small, wounded, and desperate. The third theme is the poet as prophet. In the final section, Shelley isn't just admiring the wind anymore. He wants to become its instrument, spreading his ideas and poetry to the world the same way the wind spreads seeds. He believed poetry could awaken people, could plant ideas that would eventually bloom into real change, even if he himself as an individual felt broken off or power. Hope through suffering. That final line, if winter comes, can spring be far behind, isn't naive optimism. It comes right after some of the darkest, most personal lines in the poem. Shelley is essentially saying that even in our lowest moments, transformation is always on its way, if we can just endure. Finally, let's talk a little bit about the poet himself, Percy Bysshe Shelley. He was born in 1792 in England, and he is considered one of the major English romantic poets alongside people like Wordsworth, Coleridge, Byron, and Keats. Shelley was known for his radical political views. He wrote against tyranny, organized religion, and social injustice, which made him a controversial figure in his time. He was actually expelled from Oxford University for writing a pamphlet supporting atheism. His personal life was equally dramatic. He eloped with Mary Godwin, who would later write Frankenstein and become his second wife, Mary Shelley. The couple spent time in Italy, which is where Ode to the West Wind was written, during a period when Shelley was dealing with personal grief, including the death of two of his children. Tragically, Shelley died young at age 29 years old in a boating accident off the coast of Italy in 1822, only 3 years after writing this very poem. His influence on poetry, political thought, and even later writers and activists has been enormous. A life cut short, but one whose ideas, like seeds carried by the wind, continued to spread and inspire long after he was gone. That brings us to the end of today's deep dive into Shelley's Ode to the West Wind. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Again, this video is also available for you to check out in Hindi, so please do that as well. Thank you very much, and we will see you again in the next one.